Virginia and Georgia Tech fans sure are happy, but boy, did ACC officiating come under fire again this weekend. We better assemble the squad.
You're talking ball with the ACC squad. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC squad.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday. Boys, it's October. How is that already here? It's crazy to think you're joining us here on the ACC squad, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like all our players on our teams, Mazda sweats every single detail because when you make every moment count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right. Joining us today on the ACC squad, we got Jackson Holzer, the great host of Locked On Syracuse, Kenton Gibbs, one half of the Locked On Wolfpack guys, our friend Grayson Boonoff celebrating his birthday somewhere, something crazy like that. Mr. Morgan Thomas, the host of Locked On Clemson, great to have him here with us. And of course, our guy JJ Jackson, the host of Locked On Blue Devils. I'm Isaac Shade, the host of Locked On Tar Heels, filling in for our guy Alex Dono, because he's off getting ready for Miami showdown coming up this week at Florida State. We'll obviously talk about that later in the show today, the showdown in Tallahassee. But before we get to that, we got a whole bunch of stuff from last weekend to talk about, including the ACC refs coming under fire again, Georgia Tech surviving, what happened in Raleigh. We'll have to ask Kenton about that, and a whole bunch of other action, including the Fightin' JJ's romping up in Syracuse against the Fightin' Holzers. Crazy stuff there. All right, boys, here's why we got to talk about the refs. Friday evening, Virginia, home in Charlottesville, crazy scene where the crowd is just pressing in on the field against number 8 Florida State. The Wahoos win in overtime 46-38. The big question was 29 in overtime, where a clearly missed neutral zone infraction would have given a first down to Wake Forest. They could have iced the game, victory formation, because Georgia Tech had no timeouts. Boys, do we need to have a conversation about the ACC refs?
I mean, I don't know why we're just now having this conversation. It's been like this for forever. The exact same call that cost Georgia, or that cost Wake Forest in this game, was the exact same call that cost NC State last week against Duke.
That's right.
The score was 14-20. NC State is driving at their plus 30. A guy, they said we did not have a play called. The center was only supposed to snap the ball if somebody jumps. Somebody jumps, the center snaps the ball. They throw the ball because they did not have a play on. They throw the ball as CJ Bailey is about to get crushed. Interception, return back to the 8. So what should have been on a 4th and 2, an extended drive that could have potentially put you up 23-14 going into halftime, you now go in trailing 21-20. Why are we acting like this is a new thing? This is something that's been a problem with the ACC officials forever. This was a problem with the Georgia Tech game against Miami last year, where the Miami runner was clearly down, and just because Mario Cristobal was being an idiot running a play when he should have taken a knee does not negate the fact that the runner was clearly down. But the ACC refs continue to be the ref show. They continue to screw teams over. And so at this point, what do we do besides point out the continued incompetence that continues to happen by officials in the ACC?
Sometimes I think officials are just spectating. They're just like us. They're just like everyone else. They're on the field. They get the best view. They get to just watch the game, and they're just spectating, and they just get to throw a flag or not throw a flag whenever they want. I mean, that missed call in that Georgia Tech game was just absolutely egregious. Wake Forest does everything right. The guy jumps in the neutral zone. You know what you do when a guy jumps in the neutral zone? You get a free play. It's a free play because you know that it won't count regardless. Nothing bad can happen to you because the guy jumped off sides. And the officials missed it. They missed it. But that being said, Wake Forest, this is my message all the time when we talk about officiating. We can acknowledge bad officiating. Can we also acknowledge that Wake Forest in this game led 20-3 and they blew it? I understand they would have won had the officials made that call, but they had a 20-3 lead in the second half against Georgia Tech.
Can 6 minutes left. 6 minutes left in the third quarter. They had that lead.
I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of sympathy for you. I just don't. I don't. Don't put yourself in that situation. You were on cruise control. You were on autopilot, and you put yourself in a position where the officials could screw you over. Just like, Kenton mentioned that example from a couple years ago with Miami and Georgia Tech. Miami put themselves in position to have the officials screw them over. You know why? Because they ran the ball. They could have just taken a knee, and the officials would not screw you over there. It's a freaking knee down. That's it. So stop putting yourself in position where the referees may be able to screw you over. Instead, maybe hold on to a 20-3 lead throughout the fourth quarter, and we're not having this conversation about ACC refs. They suck. What else is new? You got to play through it. It is what it is.
I still can't even believe that Wake Forest had that lead. I mean, 20-3. I never would have had. I didn't have that on the bingo card going into it, and the fact that they blew the lead and obviously had that call at the end has got to sting so much more there in Winston-Salem this week.
But the job of the teams is to be 1 point better than their opponent. It is not to be so much better that no amount of variance from the officials matters. It's to be 1 point better within the rules and confines of the game, which Wake Forest objectively showed had they been given a call. That was there, at least with the NC State and Duke thing. You could at least make the argument that was going into halftime. NC State had a whole half to rectify that problem. Sure. This situation, we're looking at the tail end of the game, where if this call is called properly, they're put well within field goal range, given a first down, and it just did not materialize for whatever reason.
Well, and they don't even need that field goal. They can. It was 1:50 left on the clock. Georgia Tech has no timeouts. You're in victory formation at that
Game's
point.
over.
Yeah. Well, that's even worse. I'm sorry. That's even worse.
Yeah,
because
the game was over. It was a terrible call.
But again, that's what I mean in terms of it's not fair to say, hey, you have to be so much better than your opponent. You can eliminate any amount of variance from the rules. Don't get me wrong. I'm a proponent of changing multiple rules as they stand now to kind of get the ref show out of the situation in terms of holding, in terms of defensive pass interference, offensive pass interference, in terms of targeting. I'm in favor of changing multiple rules to make it clearer, plainer, and easier for everybody. But you've got to enforce what's on the books as it is. And that didn't happen, which cost Wake Forest a massive upset.
Kent, it's funny you mentioned that because
what's not
the game
clear?
went to overtime. The game went to overtime. Is Wake Forest not allowed to win in overtime?
They were allowed to win in overtime, but it should never win.
Have to.
It should never win.
Look, I agree, but at the same time, Wake Forest is given countless opportunities to win this game outside of officiating. I am never going to blame officiating on a team losing games because there are plenty of other factors within your control that cost you a game. It is what it is with bad officiating. It's just going to happen. You should go into every game expecting that you're going to get screwed by the refs. That just should be your mindset. We're going to get screwed by the refs. It is what it is. How can we fight through it? How can we continue to play through it? Wake Forest did not have to lose the game in overtime after that because they got the second life, which was the overtime, and they blew it then too. I don't have sympathy for them.
Yep. But Kenton says, what's nice is when we can define rules more clearly. Morgan, here's my question for you. What on earth is a catch? Because down in this Florida State game, apparently we can't figure out what is a catch and what's not a catch. It costs Florida State in double overtime. Thankfully, at least we got some transparency on this one, right? We go inside the booth, basically with the ACC. They all determine and say together, doesn't have control until he's out of bounds. Morgan, was it a catch? Was it not? Was Florida State screwed on this? Obviously, they still would have had to complete a 2-point conversion to get more opportunities. What do you think?
So far this year, I like when it's not a catch because LSU would have scored 7 more points on Clemson if it was actually a catch. It seems as if they've made this new rule that you have to maintain for 5 minutes after you cross the goal line. If you're a wide receiver, maybe if you're running back or quarterback, you don't have to. But if you're a wide receiver, you have to maintain, go get water, and then you can release the ball to the ball boy or girl. When you have a Duke when you have the Duke guy joining you on the referee complaints, that's when you know the world is upside down at this point. So, JJ, sorry about that one. I had
All
to
good.
I get where you're coming from, Jackson, but I have to disagree because when it comes to, a blatant offsides like that one was, I mean, he might as well have been signing an autograph with the running back in the backfield. I mean, that was really bad. And so when you have something like that, I don't know who's more blind, Clemson's position coaches or the referees in the ACC right now. It's kind of, neither one of them really know what's going on the field. But, that one really frustrated me. That the Deuce Robinson?
Yes.
that catch from him, which he is, by the way, he's got to be on our all ACC team, if not already, right? I mean, he's great.
Yes.
But
Yes,
I would say it did seem as if he was a victim of the tuck, It was kind of like what was it? Des Bryant, victim of the tuck, or whoever it was that in the NFL, if I'm remembering that right. But it seemed as if he had control and he was trying to transition to a tuck. And it, when you slow things down, it was moving, but to me, at some point it was moving under control. But I can also see where they would have an argument there. That one wasn't the egregious one to me. The one with Wake was, though.
yeah, completely agreed. All right, boys, we need to keep moving here, but there's more to talk about. Louisville has a massive comeback against Pitt. It wasn't just Georgia Tech. We got to find out what's going on in Raleigh. Apparently, Kenton's telling us, man, there's some people out for Coach Doran's head. We got to figure out what's going on there. We got to look ahead to this massive showdown in Tallahassee, gang. All of that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Y'all, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 to use in bonus bets all across the app. When you use FanDuel, whether it's parlays, player props, even jumping in on the action live, it makes watching football even more exciting since you got a little bit something extra riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or maybe you live diving into the stats like I do, nerd, dork, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. I mentioned that showdown in Tallahassee, Miami, 4.5-point favorites against Florida State. Or how about this? On Tuesday, the ACC regular season championship odds came out for basketball. JJ's Duke Blue Devils favored at plus 160, followed by Louisville plus 220, North Carolina plus 550, NC State and the Kenton Gibbses at plus 750, and then Virginia in the top 5 at plus 2,000. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download it and get started today. This episode is also brought to you by Square. Look, you need to know that your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. Whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, that coffee shop that knows your name and order the second you walk in the door, or that corner deli that's been serving your community faithfully for decades, man, these are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. And what does that support look like? Well, spending money doesn't just support the businesses. It supports the people behind it and the community around it. Those local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square, which is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses all around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You're going to be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. All right, fellas, let's go to the Louisville game here where they're playing up at Pitt. And we've talked about Louisville as another potential team that could rise to the top of this conference, but we didn't really know yet who they are. They get into a bad situation where they were down 17-0. They were down 27-17 at the half. And we had this weird punt situation that really kickstarted things for them, where we get a late fair kick signal from the Pitt punt returner. The Louisville player is blocked into him. No kick catch interference because he was blocked into him. The punt returner sticks his hand out, touches the ball. Louisville falls on it. Louisville ball. They go on to win this game. Fellas, for those of you that saw it, was this like Louisville benefiting from another bad call, or was this just an odd situation adjudicated correctly?
I'd have to say it's the latter and not the former. This was an odd situation that was adjudicated correctly. And this is one where I'll say you had a million chances outside of this. Narduzzi is Narduzzi. He shows us the best of coaching. He shows us the best of coaching and the worst of coaching all in one game. He shows you the coaching that gets up 17-0. He shows you the coaching that shuts down Duke Watson and Isaac Brown. He shows you all that. And then to allow a 17-point comeback in this game. I don't understand how Pitt fans are not living in a constant state of agony and terror at the idea that your coach can win any game. He just doesn't. He just doesn't do it. He can put together a defensive scheme to stop any offense, and then all of a sudden it always falls apart down the stretch. I honestly look at this situation and say it was a properly adjudicated call, but if I am part of the Pitt faithful, I'm sitting up here scratching my head saying, how? If you would have told anybody coming into this game that the best running back duo in the conference and maybe even in the country outside of Happy Valley is going to be held to 67 yards and Miller Moss is going to have to throw the ball 50 times, you say, yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And we're going to have a 17-point lead. I feel great about that. But
and Eli Holstein gets pulled in the middle of this game, boys. That was where I was like, what? That's that overcoaching you're talking about there, Kenton. Fellas, did that feel weird to anybody else than me? Apparently not. Okay.
I was just about to say, I will say it was strange because Eli Holstein has always been the guy that I thought stirs the drink for Pitt. And I understand he's had a rough go of it this season. He's had a very rough go of it. He's made some terrible reads. He's made some bad mistakes. But to me, if he's your guy, you have got to ride it out with him and at least, let the game go. And on the next week say, hey, listen, I can't start you. Not with you making decisions like this. We can't do it. But again, to pull him when you did, it's a Narduzzi masterclass on he's the tale of two cities in every game. He's the best of times, he's the worst of times, all in every game.
All right, we're talking about all these referee situations. One of the things that was great was in that Florida State game, we in Virginia, we were treated to an inside look at what they were saying as they go under the hood and they're trying to make these calls. JJ, Morgan, do you guys like that level of transparency, or would you rather them just figure it out and let us know?
It was so cool. I mean, I never thought that we'd get to a day that we get to see things like this, but to kind of hear them think out decisions as they're being made, the ball, whether or not they've got full control back and forth and that sort of thing. I was certainly a big fan of it, and I'd honestly love to hear an argument for anybody against it, because I think this is something that should be adopted by a lot of people. If you're just looking for transparency, if we're being so harsh on officiating in sports, why not let you see the breakdown process of how these decisions ultimately get made?
Yeah, I enjoyed it because one thing that was shocking to me was that just the lack of knowledge that it was happening from the coaching staff. When we asked Dabo, when we asked Tom Allen, I mean, they had no idea that they were implementing that. So it really wasn't like something that was for them, and it really isn't. It's for us. So it does make you feel good that they're advancing certain things for the betterment of the fan base in the ACC and across college football. So I do like the transparency there. But as Kenton mentioned, you have all this great stuff with this transparency, but then, like Pitt's fans, I mean, they literally had, I don't know what the final penalties were between them and Louisville, but I mean, it was like Louisville got no holding calls and Pitt got everything was holding for them. So, I can understand where Pitt fans are very frustrated by just the imbalance of just the regular calls, not even just the controversial calls. It just seems like right now ACC is doing a really good job at those, reviewable calls, but then the regular ones you can't review, it's like they're all over the place.
That's a good word. Okay, here's one last place I want to go before we look ahead. And Kenton, I'm sorry to have to make you revisit this, but dude, we got to ask what happened in Raleigh, right? We've got Virginia Tech fires their coach.
Actually, I'm not gonna laugh.
They knock off Wofford the week after that. Like, is this a moment of Virginia Tech just circling the wagons because things are weird? Is it NC State trying to figure out who that, like, what's happening?
To quote the legendary B.B. King, the thrill is gone. Any excitement, any juice, any support that Coach Doran had from the fan base, even the most sunshine of Sunshine Crew people, in terms of the folks who are always, whatever happens, I've got Dave Doran's back, they can no longer do it because this is an untenable loss. This is the type of loss that is the nail in the proverbial coffin because it just is. How do you excuse? Here's a fun fact about this game, okay? Virginia Tech scored 23, or I'm sorry, yes, they scored 23 points in this game. NC State scores 21. Do you know how many other FBS teams Virginia Tech has held below 24 this season?
I'm going to say 0.
Correct, 0. They allowed 24, and then 44, and then 45 to Old Dominion. You're telling me, and mind you, that is a generous 45 because I watched that game and I watched Old Dominion pull their foot off the gas and pull the boot out of their you-know-what. That I saw it. I watched them say, oh, yeah, enough is enough. In Blacksburg. And they come into your house and they win this game. This is, I remember when they punted the ball before the end of the game, a guy sitting next to me was covering this from a Virginia Tech angle. And he said, man, I'm worried. I'm worried about this. And I said, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. I mean, the reality is this was as uninspired of a performance as I have ever seen from a Doran coach team. You let a skeleton crew of Virginia Tech come in and beat you because they had 3 of their top 6 tacklers out. They had multiple key players out. And yet and still, Wofford ran the ball for more yards against them. The mighty Wofford Terriers. The Terriers outrushed you against this defense. So do you get what you get when you show up underwhelming and all that? And I said this on Locked On Wolfpack, and I'll say it here again. The media room is right next to the Wolves Den, which is also in Vaughn Towers, which is where all of the cool kids, all the people with big money, the people who's got their names on buildings and all that around campus, where those people sit during the game. And I can tell you some of the things that were ringing out of that room, with all due respect, there's no way Doran comes back next year.
Whew. And he was already planning on that of his own volition, right? Before this, it kind of sounds like.
Now he's going to be asked to.
I was just about to say, there was some speculation as to whether or not, because he hadn't made a formal statement on it. And technically, there is formally no agreement that he's not coming back. However, I happen to know something about college football. When the people that open up their wallets and give the ducats say we're done, you're done. Those two things happen all at once.
I'm looking at NC State's schedule right now, and here's how killer of a loss this actually was. You're going to beat Campbell next week, so you're going to be 4-2. Then you end the season at home against North Carolina. You could probably beat North Carolina at home, although after seeing what happened against Virginia Tech, that might be a coin flip now. The remaining games besides those two, at Notre Dame, at Pitt, Georgia Tech at home, at Miami, Florida State at home.
Woof.
Oh, boy. So now,
Pack.
find me the one win that you need to make a bowl there. Like, if you had just beaten Virginia Tech at home, we'd be sitting here looking at NC State, and I know it might not mean that much because Dave Doran's in his billionth year with the program by now, but at least you can say, okay, we beat Virginia Tech. Even if we lose all these games that we have coming up, we'll beat Campbell, we'll be 5-1, and then all we have to do is beat North Carolina at the end of the year, our rival, and you have 6 wins and you're a bowl team. Now, all of a sudden, I look at it and say, where's the 6th win coming from?
But the thing is, I predicted before this season, this team would either win 5 or less or 8 or more. I knew it all off season based on this first stanza of the season. I said, this is not going to be an exactly 6 or 7 win team, as we've seen a million times with NC State. This is going to be a year where things either go swimmingly well and we're all sitting up here like, wait, what? Or it's going to be very bad. And, you know, we're going to be saying, hey, Dave, it's been real. It's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. You got to go. And it's turning out to be the latter. But in NC State's defense, I will say this. Half of the teams you just named either lost last week or had a very unimpressive showing last week. So more of those games than not are very winnable. It's possible they win it. The problem is which NC State team do you get? Do you get the one that beat Virginia, or do you get the one that, Virginia Tech they're just too much, and we didn't know who to game plan for? That's a real quote from Coach Dorn, by the way. They had so many guys out, we didn't know who to game plan for.
Well,
didn't know who to game plan for?
That's what he said. That's what he
said.
Speaking of Virginia, they are at Louisville in a suddenly very meaningful game this Saturday. Obviously, we got the showdown in Tallahassee. We got the Desperation Bowl in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, between the Tar Heels and Clemson. Let's just quick run through of the other results from this past weekend. Duke romps up at Syracuse. Cal edged BC up in Boston. And Stanford, way to go, Cardinal. You survived San Jose State at home by 1, and they needed a 4th and 10 in the last minute of the game to help accomplish that. Wow, that's gross. We're going to get to this week's action and rankings update, all coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda bring this same level of intentionality to how they craft every single model. You can feel that incredible Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Because with Mazda, everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling all the way to intuitive controls. And like all our team's players, Mazda sweats every single detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time, which is telling you that college football is back, and we couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands at most of these places, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets sometimes can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Their lines are interminable, there's hidden fees, and the prices jump when you get to checkout. And that's why we at Locked On use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. It's honestly faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets, and I love that you can find views from your seat right there in the app. You trying to go to Miami at Florida State Saturday night? See Dono maybe? It's the cheapest I can find at $261 to get in the door, but that's lower level, section 113, row 62. Man, you don't want to miss this game. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Okay, we've got another great Saturday of football coming up. No Thursday or Friday games in the ACC this weekend, but man, things are going to start at noon and go all the way through a 10:30 kick out on the West Coast. JJ, I hope you're getting a nap in now for Duke at Cal.
You know it.
We got to start with the biggest game of the week, though. It's the ABC Saturday night game, but it ain't game day. You know where game day is, boys? Vandy at Alabama. Oh, my goodness. Okay, but we got number 3 Miami at number 18 FSU. Neither Alex Dono nor Brian Smith are here to help us get this game ready. 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Is FSU going to rebound, or is Miami going to keep things rolling? Jackson, what do you see?
I see a team in Florida State that had one job, and that was to hold up their end of the bargain, beat Virginia, and both these teams would be undefeated, and this would be a matchup versus 2 top 5 teams in the country. That's what I think. That's what I saw. And when Florida State lost to Virginia, I said, I honestly don't really think it's going to impact how they play against Miami no matter what. What it really tells me is this Florida State team is super Jekyll and Hyde, and that maybe it was just a helmet type game. Brian Smith actually taught me that reference. A helmet game where you look at the team's helmet, you see Virginia, and you think you're just going to cakewalk your way to a victory, and then lo and behold, you lose. But now Florida State is playing Miami. They're going to see them on the schedule and say, oh boy, that's a tough game. Oh no, they're top 5 in the country in Miami. We got to be on our A game. We got to play like we did against Alabama. It really comes down to whether or not if Florida State can hold up front. That's what it is. Miami might have the best front, both sides in the country. Good luck, Florida State. If Florida State can manage to get through that front, they have a chance. Thomas Castellanos, he can make plays with his legs. Still don't really trust him throwing the ball, but he can make plays with his legs. He can maybe catch Miami off balance, but it really just starts up front. And Florida State, they're going to have to be able to hold their own. They don't have to necessarily, quote unquote, win the trenches, but they can't lose it by so much of a margin where it's just overwhelming and Miami can just ram the ball right down their throats. And then on the other side, Florida State can't establish any sort of running game whatsoever.
See, Jackson likes to get real philosophical and bloviate about things you don't need to talk that long about. One of these teams has Ruben Hurricane Bang, one of them don't. The team with him is going to win this ball game because he's an absolute game record supreme. And if you want to beat Miami, you got to have a lot of pieces where we can win at all these other places. I don't think Florida State has that. Give me the team with Hurricane Bang. Give me the Canes.
I just can't wait to watch it. I'm going to be a college football fan as this unfolds. I'm hopeful that we get a really impressive game here. So impressed by what Florida State has been able to do offensively. And to Jackson's point, we really missed out on an undefeated versus undefeated showdown when this game came around. And when we saw Florida State drop the ball. I'm also really fired up to hear this back and forth that we could have between you, Isaac, and Morgan ahead of this North Carolina and Clemson.
We got the tank bowl.
Somebody's got to win, baby.
We're looking forward to trying to get the first pick in the college football draft in 2026. If that's a thing, I hope. I gotta say though, I never thought I'd be cheering for Carson Beck, but maybe I am this weekend. I never thought I'd be cheering for Miami either. They don't need any more fans than they already have. But I will say that, it is crazy. Post-Cavender era, Carson Beck with the Lamborghini and the money, he is actually become free. Maybe Kirby Smart is starting to become. Maybe Kirby Smart is Dabo 2 years ago. Maybe Kirby Smart is falling away and forgetting how to coach. He's just 2 years ahead or behind Dabo. I could see that because look at Cristobal and look at the players he's brought in. Maybe you just got to pay a quarterback that knows what they're doing. And if you pay them enough money, they just relax and they free up. And, when they get the vitamin D of Miami, maybe it just works out. But the only thing I'll say is, not only is this a rivalry game, I'm looking at, I'm a pilot here. I'm looking at AccuWeather.com and I'm seeing 80% chance of some storms here. So when it gets to that, can you really rely on anything? I mean, who knows what kind of football you're going to get if you have a lot of rain to add to it.
Can we call it a deluge? Is that appropriate? Hey, speaking of quarterbacks that you can trust, North Carolina doesn't have one. Gio Lopez is so bad.
Hey, join the party.
Yeah, right.
Or I'm joining the party right now.
Gio Lopez got hurt in the first game of the season against TCU, and Max Johnson had come in and shown that he was able to actually move the team down the field and score what's called a touchdown, which is when you cross that line at the end of the field and you get 6 points. That's what that actually is. North Carolina went right back to Gio Lopez. They've stuck with him for each of the past 3 games. He gets hurt again in that UCF embarrassment. And now it sounds like he's a little bit day-to-day, but has not been taking reps, not been able to play in practice. Once again, I've been calling over and over and over again for you've got to give Max Johnson a shot here to at least prove that he can do so. He can at least throw the ball, move it downfield, and get Carolina where they need to be. Not to mention what a cool story it is, him coming back from that bad injury last year. By the way, shouts to Tyreek Hill. That was gross. And so for me, I know that Carolina has not showed much of anything offensively. Honestly, the best unit for the Tar Heels right now is special teams. And that ain't going to win you many football games, boys. So I am a major advocate for Bill Belichick inserting Max Johnson, whether or not Gio Lopez is healthy in this game, and seeing what can happen. Now, on the other side of the football, Morgan, are we ready to see a Cade Klubnik step up and have a game? Is that going to happen? That's my question.
I think we got a better chance of having a punt off than that. But, it's true what they say. When you have two left-handed quarterbacks, as North Carolina does, you really have no quarterback. No. But Clemson also is one of those teams that, Cade Klubnik, if you're a wrestling fan out there, and maybe you're not, but this is my only reference here. You've got Cody Rhodes, and that's what you wanted. You wanted this beautiful blonde Cody Rhodes with the WWE Championship. That's the Cade Klubnik you wanted, with a nice little neck tattoo and everything. That's what you wanted, the face of your franchise. What you ended up getting in 2025 was Stardust, with the gimmick and the face paint and the, and you didn't really want that at all. So what quarterback are you going to get in this situation? We don't really know. I mean, Dabo came out today and said that basically it's a coaching failure. But, for 2 weeks, I've been saying, maybe they just don't attend practices. So maybe this week they actually were there at practice. We'll see.
Players only practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Isaac, I got a theory for you. Hear me out.
Okay, bring it.
Okay,
bring it.
The last time Bill Belichick put in a backup and they had a lot of success, that backup got all the credit. And he's thinking, if I put in another backup, and this one got a bionic knee too, he's a little bit cyborgish. If he has success, now they're thinking modern medicine and Max Johnson instead of me. I got you figured out, Chapel Bill. I'm in your head, baby. I know. Let that backup play.
The Book of Brady has a new chapter.
Are you telling me that Max Johnson is Tom Brady right now? Is that what's about to happen?
All I'm saying is this. Drew Bledsoe never got his job back. I don't think Gio Lopez would ever get his back. Do the knowledge.
I don't care.
Do the knowledge.
I don't care how much money you paid the guy in the transfer portal. You got to win football games. And if somebody else is going to help you do that more capably, you got to make it. Kenton, I want to stay with you, Kenton, because
what if in his contract that he has to start? Because aren't some players making demands about how they have to start for NIL contracts?
It's technically not pay for play. So they might have a deal with a certain advertiser for that, but that has no bearings on the coach's decision because it's not pay for play. It's not from the university. No,
but I remember I forgot who the player was. He entered the transfer portal last year, and it came out online that he had a whole list of demands, and one of the demands was, I want guaranteed X amount of playing time. So I'm wondering if that might be in someone's contract. No. If it is in someone's contract, then
again,
not even George Hudson would be that time. Okay, like, come on. All right. And one other game I want to hit on here, number 24, Virginia at Louisville, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2. In some ways, Kenton, this feels to me like maybe an ACC championship elimination game. Is that a maybe fair way to look at this game?
Absolutely, because of coastal chaos. Let's be very honest here, right? Virginia is technically undefeated in conference, despite the fact that they lost to NC State earlier this season. And so is Louisville, also undefeated in conference, despite the fact that Louisville has put together no performances outside of this last one that would inspire confidence in them. I believe that the right team is favored. I'm not sure if they cover this spread. I don't know if they cover that spread without both of them, with both of their backs being banged up, but I do think they have enough in the tank to beat UVA, especially because UVA has a number by their name for the first time since Kevin Jones was walking through that locker room. It's been a while. So I think that I would probably lean towards Louisville in this one, but no outcome would surprise me all that much here.
Louisville, a 6.5-point favorite in that game. Going to be interesting to see. JJ's excited. He's going to get to see the whole Miami at Florida State game that kicks off at 7:30 because his game's not till 10:30. Duke at Cal on ESPN. We've got games literally all day in the conference, and that is the prime example of it. Syracuse is down in Dallas at SMU, 3:30 on ACC Network. Wake Forest at Virginia Tech at 1 on CW, right after like a Dawson's Creek rerun, something like that. And then Campbell at NC State, we talked about earlier, 2 p.m. on ESPN+. So going to be another interesting weekend of ACC football. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us here today. For Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse, Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, our guy Morgan Thomas from Locked On Clemson, and of course, JJ Jackson from Locked On Blue Devils. I'm Isaac Shade, host of Locked On Tar Heels. It's been great to be together here with you today. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy football. And until next week when we're back together again. right here on the squad. Peace.